Hello, everyone again. Very excited to have a good number of you here for our workshop on personal development and entrepreneurship. I think in particular, very relevant to all of you as you folks kind of explore how you take this journey of yours you're going through at YC or your innovation journey in future as you pursue different innovations, and how do you potentially turn that into a meaningful career, into a meaningful business, into a meaningful purpose beyond even just something to make money, something that's going to give fulfillment on the like as well. I'm very grateful to be joined here by Ramel. Ramel is actually someone, a friend of mine who did the MBA together. I think her and I have been similar to you folks, perhaps, in those war rooms, so to speak, where you've got that deadline and you have to hit that deadline, and we're working on some project and everything. And so has been on the other side of challenges like this, and has been in your shoes in many ways. And I can relate to some of the experiences that you folks are going through. Has also been a co-founder for nonprofits as well as for-profit ventures, and is now working on a very, very cool project with the Ontario Centre of Innovation that I'll let Ramel kind of perhaps share more about when they give their introduction. So Ramel also teaches a whole whack of courses at various colleges and universities around entrepreneurship and related kind of material. So we are very, very grateful to have her be a part of our learning today at YC. So Ramel, I'm going to pass it off to you. Thank you so much for being here, and I'm excited to learn alongside our wonderful crew. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shitangshu, and welcome everybody. Good evening. I'm very excited to be here, to be quite honest. Like it's such a really I'm very grateful that you spent your time here tonight. You could have done so many different things, could have spent it somewhere else, but your time here is so precious. So I'm so grateful to be here. Thanks to the team for like having me over. Um, my name is Ramal, and to Shitangshu's point, like I currently work for the Ontario Centre of Innovation. So we are a government agency, and we run most of the innovation programs of the provincial and the federal government. And the one that I'm leading and managing right now, it's called the Technology Pilot Zone. So the entrepreneurship journey, you have like the very first stage where you just build a business from scratch or a startup from scratch, from idea to like building the prototype, and then having an MVP, and then what happens next? It's like bringing it to the market. And so what my program specifically caters into, helping the entrepreneurs to bring that idea into the market, more specifically to work with, let's say, municipalities, like industry partners, industry leaders, to make sure that they, like Canadian entrepreneurs, innovators like yourself, would have this like way to showcase and to show their technology's effectivity, to make sure that they can get that first buy-in here in Canada. So we give them funding. So the funding that we provide to each of these technologies is like up to 100K, and it's all non-dilutive funding. So we don't take anything in return. It's just really free money that we give to support them with their commercialization efforts. So it's been a very exciting thing. We work with the city of Toronto. They're very supportive of everything that we do. So really, it's such a really precious thing to be able to see like entrepreneurs, Canadian entrepreneurs, to be able to bring that technology into the market and like get that customers from within our Canadian ecosystem. So I'm so excited to be here, but this workshop is not very focused on the innovation side of things, but mostly in the personal development, in the entrepreneurship space. So I'm so excited to be here. So I wanted to just start this night with a question of, let me just change my screen here. Let's see. What is your superpower? So what is your superpower? I'm not talking about flying or invisibility. I mean the real thing. Like, what is that superpower, the thing that comes naturally to you? So, maybe you're the ideas person. Maybe you're the one who organizes everyone. Maybe you are the connector or the one who brings people together. Or maybe you could be the one who can calm the people around you in the midst of chaos. I don't know what your superpower is, but just take a second and think about what is your superpower. And then once you have that, just drop it in the chat. What is your superpower? There's no right and wrong answer, so just feel free to type in like, what's your superpower? And if you're bold and you're bold enough to just like share it with everybody, like feel free to unmute yourself and just say like, hey, my superpower is this. So I'm just like taking a look at the chat right now, and I can see Shatang should just share that fostering communities of like-minded people around a common mission. Okay, that's awesome. That's great. I see R3 goods flow, more proficient on technology side of things. That's amazing. You're an innovator. Great. Charles is resilience. That's really great. Resilience, learn from navigating immigration and having English is my third language. So I wonder what Charles' first and second language is. Okay, so Charles said resilience. Lucas said feeling comfortable enough to take risk, which is a very great skill as an entrepreneur. Risk taker. We love risk taking. Gregory said it's sales, just sales in general. Okay, amazing. Saba said it's empathy, which is great. Empathy is what we use whenever we want to understand our users, right? We want to have that empathy to learn what they're looking for in a product or in a service. So that's really great. Jess said caring for others and helping them gain confidence in themselves. Amazing, amazing. Baveen said connecting different aspects of the community. So yes, you're a connector. Great, just like Shitangshu. Zora said noticing details that people often miss. Wow, really great skills. I'm gonna go through this, so be patient with me. Nicola said teaching a skill to others, and Charles said like his first language is Japanese and second is Mandarin. Wow, awesome, amazing, amazing. Thanks so much, everybody, for sharing that. So you know, you're already recognizing the strengths that can shape your future. And here's the reason why I asked your superpower. Your superpower is actually the foundation of your impact. So your superpower is the foundation of your impact. So when you think about impact, like Youth Impact Challenge, right? The word impact is being used there. So impact isn't just limited to running your own business. I mean, sure, you might build something yourself, but you could also work alongside visionary entrepreneurs using that superpower that you just type in the chat to help them scale their vision. So both paths actually matter. So tonight, I really want you to leave here encouraged, like having a different perspective about entrepreneurship and all the skills that you could learn from this journey. So, because this journey isn't just about being an entrepreneur, yes, that's something that we all aim for. Like, we're all here trying to innovate and building different types of technologies, like building different solutions to different problems. But this isn't just about being an entrepreneur. It's also about really developing yourself so you can make a difference wherever you go. So I was just going to change my screen here. Yes. So, are you ready to make a difference? Are you ready to make a difference? So type in the chat if you're ready. You're just like, yes, I'm ready. Just type, I'm ready. Yes, I'm ready. I'm ready to make a difference. Like, I'm not just gonna sit here and think just like, okay, I'm gonna be an entrepreneur, but I'm gonna be an entrepreneur who can make a difference, or I'm just gonna be someone who can make a difference. So yeah, I can see everybody's typing on the chat. Awesome. 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 I'm ready. I'm ready. Of course, you're all ready. All right. So here's what I wanted you to think about right now. To become an entrepreneur that makes a difference, we need to talk about our mindset. Okay, so our mindset, who you become matters more than what you can do. Who you become matters more than what you can do. So your business grows at the speed of the way you grow. So business grows at the speed you grow. So, we have so many different ideas, they're all everywhere, but execution, that thing that brings an idea to life, that's rare. Execution really depends on your mindset. So here are three different mindsets that every entrepreneur, whether you're a young entrepreneur or a future leader, needs in this journey. So the first one is resilience over resources. And the second one is, I'm just trying to look at my other screen here, vision over circumstances. And the third one is discipline over motivation. So let's start with the first one, resilience over resources. So let's just go back to the chat again and see like who was the one who typed resilience? I think that was Charles. So Charles said that his superpower is resilience. So why do you think that resilience is so much better than having resources? Okay, so let's just say right now, I would presume that you may not have that much money yet because you're not yet running your own business or you're not yet like there in the top, right? So you may not have the money, you may not have the investors, or you may not have the team yet. But what you do have is resilience. You can have resilience. And resilience is your greatest asset. And I'm saying this like resilience is your greatest asset. Why do you think so? Why do you think that resilience is your greatest asset? Anybody? Anybody? Why do you think that resilience is your greatest asset? It's more than, it's greater than having all the resource of like money, investors, network. Why do you think that resilience is your greatest asset? So I see Charles just typed something in the chat, says it ensures that you're ready to take on unexpected challenges and help you push through the difficulties ahead. This common to entrepreneurship where you are pushing narrative and the importance of what you do. Amazing. Amazing. Yeah, that's really great. So thanks, Charles, for that. Anybody else? Okay, I see Shatangshu's hand raised. Yes, Shatangshu.
I think I love these 3 points that you have. I think resilience can get you resources in terms of if you don't have resources, it can help you make you kind of fight harder and harder and harder, whether it is to get an investor, get that first customer, get that new kind of hire or that new co-founder. Like resilience and kind of pushing through those challenges will help you get resources, but resources won't help you get resilience the other way around. You can have all the resources in the world, but if you're not willing to actually use what you have and try and get what you need to push through with what you have, then you'll be stuck. So I think resources gets you resilience gets you resources, but doesn't really work the other way around. So that's part of the reason why, while both are important, resilience over resources does seem to resonate.
Amazing. Thank you, Shatangshu. Yeah, that was great. Okay, I can see who raised his hand first. Is it Lucas or Gregory?
Greg
Let's
can go first.
okay, Gregory first.
Sure. What I was gonna say was that just statistically, many people's first businesses end up not working out and failing, and so there are definitely a large amount of examples where people sort of give up after their first business doesn't take off. And so that's why I think resilience is one of the more important traits because you can still have that dedication and discipline to keep trying to start something even after already being discouraged.
Amazing. No, that's really great. That's really great point. Thanks so much. Okay, Lucas.
I was just gonna add that like when you're part of a team and you have a variety of different skill sets, you might not always have every skill set that will ever be possible. So being able to take different challenges and resist these challenges might actually be more important than having as many possible skills as you can. So yeah.
Really great. Wow, you guys are so great. Amazing. Thanks so much for sharing that. Like, those are all really good points. And when you really think about it, when we think about failure, it's a little bit, it's not a little bit, but it's discouraging, right? When we fail at something, we feel like, okay, man, this is the end of it. But every failure isn't final. It's actually a feedback. And I love what you all shared because all of these different companies are so successful right now. They all started with some sort of a failure. So I know I was working with this impact investor, and he's really, really great in the space here in Toronto. And I remember before when we were talking about like the success rate of startup companies, and he said, you know what? There's so many different reasons that could potentially affect like the success rate of a startup company. But he said, but the major thing, the main reason why a startup or a company would fail is because the founder just decided to give up because of whatever challenges are up there, right? So it's really like how you can get back up after like something that, some sort of a pushback or some sort of a circumstance within your business or outside of your business that's affecting it. Like it's really how you get back and just either you have to pivot or like iterate something or like improve your product and services. It's that resilience to keep going. And I wanted to give you an example of like successful companies that were rejected so many times and they're just like nonstop, like they just want to keep going. And one example of that is Airbnb's founders, right? When they started Airbnb, like they were rejected by dozens of investors. Just imagine this, like just thinking about like, okay, I'm going to rent out my home or a spare room of my home. I don't think so. So it was very hard for investors back in the days to accept that kind of idea because it's unique. It's not something that somebody will just like kind of think about. And at that time, they had no money. They were literally just selling cereal boxes just to survive. But now, when you look at an accommodation or a place to go, you don't go find a hotel or a hotel room. Won't book a hotel anymore. You just like go to Airbnb and now they're worth billions of dollars. So it came from so many different rejections, multiple different rejections when they were pitching their ideas. Another example I want to give, and I don't know if guys are familiar with this one, but this is something that you see online or in TikTok. Well, everybody's just hyping all these this different Dyson Airwrap, like to dry your hair, to curl your hair. I see this a lot. I don't have one because it's super expensive, but the manufacturer of this, the producer of this is Dyson, and they just started with a vacuum cleaner. So they have really great vacuum cleaners. But this founder, if you look at the very top right, that's the founder of Dyson, and he built just the business itself built over 5,000 prototypes before they actually got the final version, like the version that you're selling now, that really works. And when it comes to vacuum cleaner or anything that's related to the Dyson products, everybody's just wanting to buy it because of the quality of it. But it didn't get perfect in the very beginning. Like it didn't get perfect like right off the bat. Like it took over 5,000 prototypes before they got there. And that is resilience. So, just you're in your day to day, right? Like if, let's say you thought of an idea and then you start pitching it and you get a lot of different feedback, whether it's good or bad, mostly negative, because you have to be like, I have to improve this or I have to do this. it's so easy for us to just say, okay, I don't think this is for me. But your failure or whatever it is that doesn't work out, it's a feedback. It's lessons learned. It's like when you're trying to cook something, and you're like, you know what? Let me just try this recipe. Let's cook. And then the moment you finished, finish cooking and then you try it and you're like, oh, it doesn't taste as good. Like it requires more salt, or maybe I need to add more sugar, whatever it is. It's not as successful as you expected it to be, but the next time you cook something, next time you cook the same dish, you already know what you have to add. You're already ready to add like a little bit more of salt, a little bit more of pepper, a little bit more of sugar. And the next time you try it, it's probably not yet like restaurant type of taste, but it's still so much better than the previous one. And that's something that we learn in entrepreneurship. Like we really learn so much from all those different things that didn't work out. And so one important thing that we have to think about as our mindset is just being resilient. And not just in entrepreneurship, but just in our day-to-day. No matter where we are, what we do, we don't always get our way, but we know that we can learn from it, and it always makes everything better the next time if we apply the lessons learned. So that's number one is resilience over resources. So let's move on to the next one. Vision over circumstances. Now, when we think about a vision, we have somewhere to be. I don't know if you've heard about the saying that life will just take you everywhere, wherever. It's just like you're just flowing with life if you don't have a vision, because you don't have a direction where you have to go. So if you only focus on where you are right now and what's happening around you, chances are you're probably going to get stuck. Chances are, because it gets overwhelming. You're like, let's just say, like, I need to build this product. And you're just getting a lot of pushbacks. And you're like, I feel like the world is against me. And I feel like I can't move this forward. Or maybe this idea sucks. Like, I just don't want to keep going anymore. If you look at what's going on just right now and where you are, without having that vision of where you want to go, you're just gonna be here, stuck. But if you can see where you want to be, there's always that vision that pulls you forward. There's always that vision that pulls you forward. So my question is, let's say nothing was holding you back. What vision would you chase? Let me just type that in the chat so you can see the question. If nothing was holding you back, let's say money's not holding you back, time is not holding you back, school is not holding you back, what vision would you chase? Start that question. If nothing was holding you back, what vision would you chase? So if you want to unmute yourself, feel free to unmute yourself or raise your hand if you want to answer it. I'd love to hear what you think. If there's nothing holding you back, what vision would you chase? Okay, let's see. I see Gregory.
Sure. So I would definitely say on a larger scale, betterment of the healthcare system and betterment of people's lives in healthcare, mainly taking a focus on prevention or something along those lines.
Amazing. That's really great. That's so good. Because, what we have in our healthcare, mostly healthcare, is about treating the illness. So it's not mainly focused on preventing. We lack that preventive side of things. And I know that, I used to be a pharmacist, so I'm in the medical space before, and my vision is really to make sure that the patients won't have to get to that part where they have to be admitted to a hospital. They have to do all of these different tests to get treated. Like if you could prevent that, then that's so much better because you're improving their way of living, the quality of their life. So that's amazing. Thanks so much, Gregory, for sharing that. Let me take a look at the chat and see what others shared. So Charles said like inclusivity and equity for everyone, ensuring we're moving further towards meritocracy. So that's great. So it's so important. Like it's almost like I'd love to share like, it's like going against the system. Like how do we change the system? So that's the vision. How do we change the system to actually really achieve that inclusivity and equity for everyone? Shitangshu said like not so much a vision for a company, but rather a global goal that he would want to fight for in the world. Like everyone should have an equitable opportunity to pursue their dreams and to lead careers or opportunities that are meaningful to them. Yeah, that's really great. And all starts with like accessible education, accessible let's say learning, and for kids, like it all starts with like just empowering the kids and the youth. So amazing. I really love that. Like, Shitangshu, like one of my passions really to like my grandparents, they grew up like not being able to finish school, but they really tried their best to work. And you can see like we can see like so many different smart people, so many different people that are aiming, and they're just smart and they're talented and they have almost like they're just super skilled, but they weren't able to access the opportunity to go to school, to learn, to lead in their careers. And you're like, let's aim for that. Paveen said, like, being able to change the system to ensure that everyone has access to basic human rights. Absolutely. Absolutely. So those are really great visions. So I appreciate you all for sharing that. But I love that you have that because that's something that you'll have to hold on to, like no matter what's going on. Like that's the kind of vision that creates momentum. Because if we will have to be we will be experiencing like different circumstances, we'll experience like ups and downs in our lives. If we have that vision, we're always going to be working towards that, whether directly or indirectly. It's just our minds are just wired to be that way. How some people would say like you have to have a vision board. And it might sound cheesy, but when you really think about it, like you just think about something and you start to see that naturally your choices in life, the decisions you make, even like just the people you hang out with, or like what you're planning to do, it all aligns with that great vision. So it's such an important thing to have a vision. And I love that like most of you share that. And if you don't have a vision yet of like what you want to do, that's totally fine. But it's always great to just like take a step back and say like, hey, okay, what do I really want to do? What is it that I want to do to make a difference? And it could be just a very small thing. And it could be something that you're like, okay, this is a global vision. This is what I see. And it doesn't really matter like how big or how small the vision is. It's important that you have a vision that would be impactful, and it's just going to keep growing because it's going to cause a ripple effect. But I'll give you an example of somebody that has great vision. And I know like this is I know like a lot of people don't like Elon Musk, but he has really pretty cool stories. So one example that I want to share is Tesla. So it's like 2008, like in 2008, Tesla was nearly bankrupt. If you know, like Elon Musk, like he just loved to keep raising funds. Like most he's really great at raising funds, but he was actually in the verge of having like bankruptcy because of how people don't understand like his vision. Like his vision for a future of electric vehicles, like really was not understood by like so many different investors. And he has shared that multiple times in his interviews where he said like, even the ones he called heroes didn't believe his vision, but he kept going. And I know like it's Tesla is overhyped, but let's not talk about the company, or let's not talk about um, like the brand itself or who the founder is, but let's think about the vision for the environment, the vision of like having electric vehicles to help the environment. So that's like a vision that he was holding on to. And he obviously like pioneered it. And there's so many other companies that are trying their best, and they're doing their best to get into this space. So that's one example of somebody who has a vision. And let's not even talk about SpaceX, where he could, when he talks about it, and he was interviewed in like one of this I think it was like innovation shows, and he was talking about and passionately talking about SpaceX, and the person was laughing at it, and he was so serious, and he said, "What's funny about it? It is a great vision." So, he's a visionary, and in our entrepreneurial journey, sometimes we develop that vision, and sometimes we work towards that vision and we go after that vision. And sometimes we have the same vision, but instead of us like actively working towards that vision, we work with people who have the vision. We work with visionaries, and that's equally empowering. Another example that I wanted to share is Oprah. So before she became who she is right now, she literally just started that with nothing but a vision. She just wanted to empower people. And look where she is now. Like, she's one of the greatest communicator and public speaker, and just empowering millions of people all over the globe. And it just all started with a vision. So just a quick recap, we have resilience over resources, knowing that resilience is your greatest asset. And then the next one is vision over circumstances. It's kind of connected. So when we receive pushbacks, when we experience negative circumstances in life, whether it's in business or personal, we have to hold on to our vision, and we have to keep like getting back at it, just being resilient, knowing that at some point we're going to get there. So that's the second point, first and second point. So are you still with me? Are you still with me? Are we still good? We're still going to keep
Yeah.
going, right? Awesome. Okay,
Very
great.
good. Thanks.
Awesome. Okay, next one is discipline over motivation. So I think of motivation as like a spark. It flares up and burns out, like I'm motivated to go to the gym today. Tomorrow it may change. It's not always going to be the case. A lot of people are like, oh, I love it. It's motivating me, but it never really pushes me to do something or take action. So motivation is something that's kind of like, it's fleeting. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's that. But discipline, it's an engine. It's something that's constant. If you have discipline, something will always be constant. So my question is, and I want you to be honest, who here has waited for motivation before taking action? Who here has waited for motivation before taking action? What was, did you have that moment you're like, I just want to be motivated. I'm gonna wait for myself to be motivated before taking action. I see Shitang, she just did a thumbs up. Me too. Literally, like I have that kind of thing. Like Gregory said, he's like, yep, me too. All right. So it's interesting because we think of the motivation part as like the fuel to do something. But you know what? Discipline is the real secret. This discipline is waking every day, the same time, doing the same time, like doing the same thing every day. So it's discipline. And I wanted to give you someone that's like a really good example of having discipline. I know that um this person is familiar to you, very familiar to you, Jeff Bezos. Um, I think like the story that I really love the most is Jeff Bezos' story, because he's really so disciplined with like building Amazon. So it's not something that's like, built on hype. Like he has this day one philosophy that kept the company keep innovating. So he always thinks that this is the first day, like it's day one of doing something. It's always day one. Because when you think about um trying to do something, you start really strong and then eventually it starts to decline. Like the interest level starts to decline. And it happens like when you're just starting a new job, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to start this new job. Like I'm gonna do my best. And then like 6 months and you're like, why am I even going to this work? I don't even want to do this anymore. And we all had that. We all had those moments. But the key to entrepreneurship, and one founder told me this. I work with this founder, he's a tech founder, and I couldn't forget this because he said two things. He said, Romel, you always have to wear a CEO hat. You always have to wear a CEO hat in everything you do. Even though it's not your company, even though you're just working, you have to wear the CEO hat all the time. That's the first tip. And the second advice that he gave me and he shared with me is that if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to keep the fire burning. You have to keep the fire burning. You have to wake up so excited to do it every single day. And that's what you call discipline. You have to do the same thing consistently over and over and over and over and over again, because it's not just about emotions. Like it's not about feelings. Because sometimes you would wake up in the morning, you're like, I don't really want to go to work today. But you cannot not go to work. Otherwise, you're not going to be paid. So it's consistently bringing yourself into a discipline of like doing something over and over and over, and not just doing it for the sake of doing, but doing it right and doing it with all your best. So that's where discipline comes in. Because it's not like doing it's like, this is something that I'm just like I ought to do. But just having that day one philosophy of like, I have to think that every single day is like the first time I'm getting to this, the first day of work, or if I'm building this product and I'm already like in the midway of like building my prototype, I have to think this is the first time I'm building it. The same energy that you put into that product building when you did it in the first day, you have to keep the same fire and it has to keep burning all the time. So that's what successful entrepreneurs do, like always fueling that flame, like make sure that it's there and it won't die. Because again, going back to the major reason why a company would fail is when a startup founder or the founder would just give up. They would just like wake up in the morning, you're like, I don't really want to do this anymore. Okay, so what are those 3 points that we have for our entrepreneurial mindset? We have the first one is resilience over resources. Second one is vision over circumstances. And the third one is discipline over motivation. So those are the three mindsets that we have to keep in mind. Now, I know it's already like 44 minutes in, so I still have a lot of things to share, but I don't want to keep going on and on. So Shitangshu, please let me know if like I'm already on, I'm already almost time. It's already like time. Um, I guess like the one thing that I just wanted to add is just your identity and habits. So I just wanted to um, just share that once you have those three mindsets in mind, knowing that, You're always going to experience something. It's never going to be perfect. So you have to think that whatever didn't work out is a lesson learned in life, in business, in life, in any different areas of your life. Like whatever doesn't work, it's always going to be lessons learned, a feedback to improve and become better. And the second one is like, no matter what, you have to keep the vision. You have to keep the vision because that's what's going to pull you out of whatever circumstance you have right now. And the third one is just keep going. Just keep going. Just keep going. And I guess just like to kind of like just wrap it up, let me just take a look at the chat and see. Okay, then I can just keep going for sure. All right, thanks, Shitangshu. All right, so one most important thing is really your identity. So now let's get into the identity. So I know like I'm still in the startup space, but I started a few companies in the past, and I know Shitangshu gave a little bit of that during the intro. Some went okay for a bit, some actually really failed. Like it didn't work out. And again, it's the same story. Like I didn't push through. Like it's something that I just like, okay, you know what? I found an opportunity. I'm just gonna do this. Or I didn't have a co-founder and I need tech founders. It's just like I just gave up. So there were wins and there were also like failures. But what really mattered was who I was becoming in the process. So, you know, you will all encounter those moments because nobody started something and it just became perfect. You know, if you remember like Thomas Edison, I'll show you the photo later. He had to do 10,000 times. He had to do like all these experiments 10,000 times before he got the perfect light bulb. So it took so many tries. But what I would like to encourage you to think now is just what are you learning in the process? And when I was building my companies and nonprofit in the past, I learned so much. I learned how to pitch ideas to people I had never met. I've never met strangers. Like I used to be very introverted. I still am. But because of that entrepreneurial journey, like you have to go and talk to strangers. You have to go and pitch your idea to a potential customer or an investor. And you eventually like build that networking skill. You also learn to problem solve because again, if you're the founder, you wear multiple hats. You're like the jack of all trades. You have to do the marketing, the business development. You have to become this like you're the CEO to do the operations. Like everything you have to do, right? So you eventually learn to problem solve and even though that founder journey didn't work out in the past, what I learned from it brought me so much lessons and it brought so much into the work that I do right now with OCI or Ontario Center of Innovation, where I'm helping entrepreneurs like across Ontario to be successful and help them to move their technologies to new markets and hopefully like commercialize it, right? And successfully commercialize it. So this is something that I really wanted for you to take away, that there's always something that you will learn. And it's not about the question of like what do I want to achieve, but it's more about who do I need to become, and that's your identity in your habits and also like your environment. So just I'm really wary of the time, Shitangshu, because I didn't realize that this is gonna take a little bit of time. So again, please feel free to stop me if like you're almost time. I want to be mindful of everybody's time as well. But just very quickly, I'll give you this one example. Okay, so Beyonce. We all know Beyonce, right? So she would perform like she's just wow, like how could she perform like she's not even tired at all? Like you look at her, just like does she even get tired? But I recently learned that Beyonce is not Beyonce on stage. She has this persona, and she called herself Sasha Fierce. And Beyonce is like this kind of like a little bit like shy type person behind the stage or behind the camera, but when she is on stage, she's no longer Beyonce. She's Sasha Fierce. So it's almost like she thinks like this is who I am going to be. This is who I want to become on stage. And she embodies that. And that's the same as Rihanna. Rihanna is not a business owner. She wasn't a business owner before, but then she had to embody that, you know what? I am a business owner. I'm a business owner. So it kind of ties into like all the things that we talk about, like the 3 points of the entrepreneurial mindset. Because what helps and what keeps you going is like, who do you think you are? Like, who do you think you are? When something happens, when a problem occurs, who are you at that moment? Who do you want to be at that moment? Are you going to be someone who's just going to think that this is going to fail? Or are you going to be someone who's like, I'm resilient. I have a vision. I am an entrepreneur. And you just have to embody that like mindset or the identity so that it keeps you going. So it kind of ties into the things that we talked about earlier. Now, the next one that I wanted to briefly just touch on is the habits. So, they said that it only takes 21 days to start a new habit and 3 months or 90 days to start a new lifestyle. So, have you ever wondered why we just learned and became so comfortable working from home and being online? Like this wasn't the case like 6 years ago before the pandemic. But what the pandemic taught us, like during the COVID time, is that, you know what? If you keep doing the same thing over and over again, it will eventually become a lifestyle and it will become a new thing. And now we're all used to working from home, like just having these meetings, not in person, but online, because being stuck at home for the entirety of the pandemic really taught us new things. It taught us to be able to adapt to like new innovative way of doing meetings or workshops or just everything that changed during during and after the pandemic. So it's the same as your identity. So it doesn't just happen immediately, but it works with your little habits. So one example that I wanted to share, I know you probably know Mark Cuban. If you don't know him, he's a billionaire entrepreneur. He's really successful as, he's the owner of the Dallas Mavericks NBA team. And he is very popular. You see him on TV shows like Shark Tank. He made first his fortune by selling a tech company during the early days of the internet. And here's the kicker. So even now, with all of his success, he still reads for about 3 hours every single day. And I think it's the same. If I have my memory right here, right now, Warren Buffett and who was this other guy that he's partnered with? They have just always been reading what's going on in the market. Since they started up to now, they always read, and it's always been a habit. And that's what made them successful. And so, like Mark Cuban, because he says like reading is something that he just made as a habit. He says like constant learning is his competitive edge, and he just does that. Like he reads daily, it keeps him sharp, it keeps him spot opportunities, and it makes him smart with his investments. One example that I want to share is the late Kobe Bryant. And there's this Mamba mentality, which I know if you're a fan of basketball, we all know like how great Kobe Bryant is. And he wasn't just naturally talented. It's not because he was just born with it. He was in the gym at like 4 a.m. So he was at the gym at 4 a.m. before everybody's there. He's already putting like extra reps, like he's already working out, he's already practicing while others are just still sleeping. And that habit, it's not just talent, it's something that made him separate, like made him separate, like made him like better than the rest. It separated what good is from great. And Black Mamba is great. It was great. So it all just because of the habits. But before that, the habits is habit is something that comes after the identity. So I wanted to give you an example. You know how a lot of people would say they wanted to go to the gym as like their New Year's resolution. But did you know that about 60, 70% of all New Year's resolution, especially when it comes to going to the gym or eating healthier, um, it just goes into the drain. Like it doesn't happen. And why do you think that's the case? Why do you think that's the case? So if you say like, I'm going to do this, and your identity is not yet aligned to what you want to do, you're naturally going to eventually not do it. So does that make sense? It's like if you're planning to like be on top of your game when it comes to your gym and health, and that's your plan for the entire year. If your identity, meaning you haven't really accepted yet that I am a healthy, fit individual, your habits won't change that fast. Like you have to keep feeding your day-to-day habit to become that person. And it's the same when you're doing entrepreneurship. Again, when we go back to the example earlier, is that when something happens, who are you becoming? Who are you? Who do you want to be when something happens in the business? When a bad thing happens, when a pushback happens, what who are you becoming? What kind of persona do you want to portray at that moment? Who are you becoming? Will actually give you whether it will give you um either a solution to your problem or just like creating more problems. So that's like the importance of identity. And I want to close this with I just want to check the chat and see what is like there. Charles is saying like he's at the gym right now listening to it. There you go. Who else is at the gym right now? Yeah, that's great. So one more example that I wanted to share is just the importance of your environment. So you have to ask, like, you know, like what what does my circle what does my circle contribute to the vision that I have? Does your circle or does your current circle raise your standards or your probability of achieving your goals, or does it pull you out of it? So that's something that we have to ask ourselves when we're like journeying in this entrepreneurial realm. So I wanted to give you an example with Bill Gates and his co-founder Paul Allen. So when they were building Microsoft, they actually had access to a high school computer lab in the 1970s. And as kids, or they were just surrounding themselves with people that are so obsessed with coding. And that environment shaped them. Like it really helped them to be where they are right now. So, you know, there's a saying that tell me who your friends are, and I'll tell you who you are. And I know it gets tricky when somebody says that because you start to look around, you're like, wait, who am I surrounding myself with? And it sounds a little bit off, but when you really think about it, when you're always constantly around people that are visionaries, the people that are just like, nope, I want to win, or like people that are just like, I want to make a difference, I want to help the environment, I want to help society, you start to naturally become that. So one example I want to give, Melanie Perkins, and she's the founder of Canva, and she's one of the youngest female billionaires in the world. It's crazy, amazing story. But she was able to build her circle of mentors and global teams online. So she designed her environment even without kind of being in Silicon Valley. And that's something that, you know, is encouraging, because if we really want to surround ourselves with like-minded people, just what Shitangshu mentioned earlier, like you wanted to like connect with like-minded individuals, there is like we now have all the access to technologies to make that happen. It doesn't have to be like physically, but you can always create that environment to help empower you, to lead you, to mentor you to where you want to go. So that's such a very important thing. And I guess like it's something that we have to be mindful of, right? So we start with the identity. Who do I want to become? And it sounds just like very simple, but when you really get to like the deeper level of it, you really ask yourself, like, okay, what am I doing right now? What am I doing right now? What interests me? Where do I want to go? And the answers to those questions typically typically point to like who you are and what your identity is. Like, what do you think about yourself? And I've worked with a lot of different investors in different space, and some of them like way successful, they're already very successful. Some of them are just like starting with their journey in venture capital. I've also worked with entrepreneurs, and when you look at them from the outside, you're like, wow, they're so cool, like they're doing all these crazy amazing things to create an impact. When you work closely with them, they still feel like those moments of insecurities and moments of like it's like something that's holding them back to to do something greater, to do something better, to create more impact. And it all boils down to that identity. Like, who are you? Like, what do you think about yourself, and who do you want to become? And going back to the question is like, who do you want to become to make a difference? So that's always going to be a question that you have to ask yourself. Like, who am I? Who do I want to become to make a difference? So I know it's already 9 o'clock, so let me just circle this back to the first question. Okay, let's go back to the first question there. Just move the slide. There's still a lot there, but don't worry, it's like kind of encompasses everything. Now, just wanted to circle back to the first question about what's your superpower, and I wanted you to just sit with that and think about your superpower, because your superpower is your foundation. It's what you can use to build your own business. It's what you can use to partner with visionary leaders. It's just what you can use to create that impact. And listen, you know, it's okay if you're still trying to innovate, if you're still trying to build something, if you haven't started a business yet, or, you're just aiming or aspiring to become an entrepreneur, it's okay. Because if something doesn't work out, what's important is not what didn't work out, but what you gained from it. And hopefully you can go back and say, like, oh, yes, that didn't work out, but I gained resilience. Yes, that didn't work out, but I gained creativity. Yes, that didn't work out, but I gained courage. I was able to get out of my comfort zone, pitch to multiple people, to a panel of, let's say, the panel of judges. Like, I was able to step out of my comfort zone. That's a skill that I learned. That's a skill that will always and just continuously grow. So always going back to like, what did I learn from the process? So giving you an example here, just very briefly. This is Thomas Edison, and he said he did not fail. He said, I didn't fail. I just found 10,000 ways that didn't work before inventing the light bulb. And that's also a similar story with Colonel Sanders. He was rejected 1,000 times before KFC finally took off. And you know when it took off? In his 60s. He was already in his 60s when that became successful. So I guess to just close this, entrepreneurship isn't just about building businesses. Okay, I want you to take this away. It's not just about building businesses, it's about building you. Who are you becoming? Who are you becoming as an individual? Who are you becoming as a son? Who are you becoming as a daughter? And who are you becoming as a citizen to build and make an impact? And how will you use your superpower to make an impact? So hopefully you get something from it, and you have so much, so much, so much inside you than you realize. And I honestly can't wait to see what you do with it. So yeah, that's the end of this. And I'm again apologize for taking such a long time, but thank you so much, everybody.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Romel. It's such a. I think I'm just reflecting on so many valuable lessons that one can take away, especially one about learn from different failures. I love that Thomas Edison quote that hey, you know what? Even if you didn't get the first 10,000 times, the 10,000 and first time might be the one that works. And every time you something went wrong, you're learning about the different things that you will need to watch out for in your journey to make something right. So I think there's so many valuable lessons here. Very grateful for you to have taken this time. And I hope everyone you leave today